You are now listening to the fastest show in iSports Radio. My name is Darryl Kinsey Jr. Welcoming you to the lap of the extra mile for today, April 7th, 2025. And well, Denny Hamlin goes back-to-back in Darlington. IndyCar is heading to the beach and play the Dutch national anthem because Max Verstappen takes the win in the Japanese Grand Prix. And helping me to talk about all of this evening, of course, my co-host, Christopher Lehman. Chris?
On tonight, Darryl.
I'm doing great. Thank you so much for joining me. And thank you all for joining us, whether you're on Twitch, X, or Twitter, or YouTube tonight. We're going to pay some bills. We will come right back at the start of this break. Sit tight.
For the last 10 years, iSports Radio has been bringing you amazing content ranging from interviewing legendary athletes, coaches, and other authorized media personnel to building tailor-made shows dedicated to all major sports cities around the country. Make sure to follow us at iSports Radio on X, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, and YouTube to keep up with the latest in sports and with all of our shows. Also, make sure to check out our daily updated website at iSportsRadio.com. At iSportsRadio.com, you can see our daily show schedule and check out all of our show pages with personal bios to learn a little bit more about each of our awesome hosts. In addition to our show pages, you can catch the iSports Radio blog, Hall of Fame, Fans of the Month page, and our merchandise shop including t-shirts, tank tops, caps, long sleeves, hoodies, and more. For now over a decade here at iSports Radio, we've continued to be by the fans, for the fans, and we thank you all for your support and for making iSports Radio your direct feed for all that is sports.
Hi, eSports Radio fans. This show is brought to you by Planet Jerky Premium Brisket Beef Jerky. Planet Jerky is the official jerky of the 2022 California League champion Lake Elsinore Storm, single-A affiliate of the San Diego Padres. This all-brisket jerky has gluten-free options, contains no MSG, no sodium nitrate, is low in sugar, and high in protein. Go to their website at planetjerky.net and follow them on Instagram at Planet Jerky. Planet Jerky, the jerky that's on a whole other planet.
And we're back here in the Extra Mile on iSports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. Darryl and Chris here with you this evening. No Jen tonight, and hopefully we're joined by Michael Ward later on this evening. Fred Boheim of Bracelets Podcast will be joining us at around 8:30 to discuss the Long Beach Grand Prix, which comes up this weekend, as well as IndyCar back in action. Who is going to slow down Alex Palou? That is the question on everyone's mind, and we'll pick Fred's brain on that and a couple other things during the show and during the second segment. So join us around 8:30 and sit tight. Before we get into the broadcast proper, we have some tragic news to bring to you this evening, and that is that the owner of Hattori Racing Enterprises, Shigeki Hattori, was killed this weekend in a traffic accident. Hattori's teams originally moved to the United States in 1995 to pursue racing in open wheel, raced in the Indy 500 after winning 2 what is now Indy NXT races, but made most of his career in America in stock cars. His team raced in ARCA, but had the most success in trucks, where they had about 14 wins and a championship with Brett Moffitt. Ryan Truex also had 4 of those wins as well. Austin Hill, also an 8-time winner for that team. Tyler Ankrum drove for them most recently. That team also started 21 times in the Xfinity Series, had limited success there, but Chris, the outpouring from the NASCAR community was immense, as Shigeki he is missed. He was one of the owners that gave a bright spot to everyone there in the NASCAR garage.
Yeah, when we when we think about the Truck Series and Xfinity, we talked about this last week. After Martinsville, these leagues or series, whatever you'd like to call them, they're the development. This is where drivers come through and develop their talent. And his tree of drivers that have gone through his team, they're all over, in the racing industry. So he's definitely touched a lot of lives and provided some great opportunities for drivers. And, like you're saying, he had that championship year back in 2018. He was a valued member of the motorsports community, and it's just to be expected that he had the impact that he did, and that there is such an outpouring of respect and memories and just love for his friends and family and teams. So it's definitely tragic news.
The Huntersville Police Department there in Huntersville, North Carolina, put out a statement. This accident happened at about 9:15 a.m. on Saturday, April 5th. The preliminary investigation, and I'm reading directly from the press release, preliminary investigation indicates that a 2025 Toyota Crown operated by Shigeki Hattori of Mooresville was traveling westbound on North Carolina Highway 73 when it crossed the center line into the oncoming lane and collided with a 2024 Lexus GX 550. Mr. Hattori was pronounced deceased at the scene. The driver of the Lexus was transported to Novant Health Presbyterian Medical Center with non-life-threatening injuries. And this is important. At this time, investigators do not believe that speed or impairment were contributing factors in the crash. In Huntersville Police Department's traffic safety section are commencing the investigation. So a tragic accident on Saturday morning took one of NASCAR's great undercard owners. The trucks and Xfinity and even ARCA, if you want to call ARCA surviving, they don't survive without owners like Shigeki Hattori, where they may never reach Cup, but it doesn't seem like Cup is a aspiration for them. They want to own cars in the lower series. They want to help develop drivers on that path. Then we don't know what's going to happen with the racing team. And right now it would be irresponsible to even ask, but it's just a tragedy that we've lost a great owner and, by all sounds, a great human. Yeah.
And when you were, when it came out that it was Huntersville, North Carolina, I kept defaulting, and this is your fault, Darryl, but I kept defaulting to Guntersville, Alabama.
I'm sorry.
Where your beloved boats, I'm sure, are going to be hitting the waters sometime soon, right?
Yeah, end of June.
Guntersville
Lake Hydro Fest will be back in action.
That's where you went last year, right?
A couple of years ago.
Or 2 years?
Just after COVID, yeah.
Because you went to Barber too, right?
Yeah, we went to Barber during the weekend and got to see the Porsches that were racing, or that were they had the Porsche driving class going on at that time. Yeah. And the big thing about that 2018 championship with Shigeki Hattori is they didn't think they were going to finish that season. They had 12 employees starting that season and weren't guaranteed, and they won it all with Brett Moffitt. And Hattori was extremely happy to win that championship with Brett Moffitt. And those are the stories that make NASCAR great. We don't get stories like that anymore of small teams being able to win championships, even in the truck series. So
Yep.
to see them, they were decidedly the underdogs at that time. To go in there and win that championship, it was incredible.
Yeah. Yep. You are absolutely right.
So Shigeki Hattori and all of the, just scrolling through Twitter today, all of the condolences coming out. Joe Gibbs Racing had one on their Twitter. IMSA also had one where Hattori was a fixture in the paddock. Jesse Little and a lot of fans just giving their outpouring for Hattori and Hattori Racing Enterprises. No comments yet on what the team is going to do moving forward this season. They will make those comments when they're ready, and we're not going to rush them. So we will end the show tonight with a customary moment of silence to honor the life and memory of Shigeki Hattori. So we're going to move on from there to the Goodyear 400. That up until the last pit stop, Chris, and I know you were up very early in the morning because of a race we're going to talk about at 8:45, the Japanese Grand Prix. This was a race where William Byron pretty much led from pillar to post until the final pit stops, and that's where kind of everything fell apart as William Byron led 243 laps. At one point was the sole leader during the race. And then it came down to Tyler Reddick versus Ryan Blaney. Blaney gets the lead, and then Larson, Kyle Larson had already spun once, spins a second time, sends us to overtime, and it's Denny Hamlin that steals one and goes back to back. Larry says it was a fun race. I'll call it karma for all the wins that William Byron has backed into in his career, because usually we're talking about him only leading the last two laps.
Yeah, that's I mean, we know my bias towards William Byron, so
yes.
Yeah, it sucks though when somebody, clearly is so dominant and then, at the end, I don't want to say it has it stolen away from them, but you think you got it in the bag and then something happens. So that's definitely a bummer. And it's kind of been the way it's gone a little bit this season, though. I mean, I think back, 2 weeks ago to Ryan Blaney, dominant, blows up. That's actually happened to Blaney a few times in the last handful of races.
It has not been a good season for folks that dominate races. It just feels like it doesn't come home for them, whether it be a caution issue or the car just falls off or what have you.
Yep.
It seems like if you want to win in the Cup Series, you just want to be there to pick up the pieces and not dominate the whole event, because it's just not going to go your way.
Yep. Yeah, that's just the way the cookie crumbles, and it's been an interesting season. It's but basically two winners in the Joe Gibbs camp have eaten up the majority of the wins this season, which is pretty crazy. So kind of a year to remember for Gibbs so far. And if I'm a Gibbs fan, any of these drivers, really, I'm pretty optimistic at least in the short term.
Yeah, it's been Christopher Bell, Denny Hamlin eating up all the wins. They've got 5 of the 7 so far, and Hamlin doing his in back-to-back fashion. William Byron got a win earlier this year. Kyle Larson also has a win, and Josh Berry as well. It's been 8 races. I know how to count. As we get into the year, William Byron picking up the win, going back-to-back at the Daytona 500. Usually that is, in the last few years, that has been a kiss of death race. If you win it, you just don't do anything the rest of the year. But Byron, 4 top 5s, 5 top 10s, got 3 stage wins on the year, has led 354 laps on the season, which leads the entirety of NASCAR Cup Series to this date. I know we've had this conversation. You've got your bias, but I think other fans have to start putting respect on this kid's name.
Oh, absolutely. We've talked about this numerous times, a couple times this season actually already. Yeah, William Byron is definitely good. And it kind of goes back to, I don't know if it was last week or the week before, but we kind of talked about, these team owners getting these younger guys in there and just letting them develop with the team and with the car. Who was it? Was it in reference to Austin Dillon or was it Ross?
I think we were talking about Christopher Bell, I think, because he ended up pulling off the 3 wins, and usually you don't get a chance to develop for JGR because that's when we were talking about it. And if there's one thing Hendrick will do to a fault, he will let a driver prove that they don't belong. He's going to let you run that car as long as you want to get better. But if you're not showing that you're developing, he's going to get you out of there. And William Byron, he's developed over the past couple of years, has been back-to-back into the championship 4, finished 3rd both times. He's somebody that's going to be around this sport for a good long time in the next boss's car, the 24, made famous by Jeff Gordon. And here is a solace. William Byron did get the extra point for fastest lap and got the 2 stage wins. So ends the day with 56 points, but I think he'd want the win. But on the other side, Denny Hamlin, at the beginning of the season, he looked like he was done like dinner. But in the last couple of weeks, he is shown up and shown out. Dominating fashion in Martinsville, and then picks up the win here at Darlington. He's moving himself into prime championship position.
Yeah, and I think this is a conversation, Darryl, that I've been on the show with you for 4 years, and we have this same conversation at some point every single year. I think it's just a little bit earlier this year than normal. Mm-hmm. But we always talk about Denny having these slumps, and then, he gets hot, but usually it's kind of midsummer is when he picks it up. He's getting his steam a little early this year, but yeah, he's always a perennial favorite for, at minimum a top 8, but he's usually in the championship 4. And that's something that, you can, not betting advice, but I feel comfortable putting money on Denny Hamlin any given year to make the championship 4. So it's to be expected, but yeah, he's definitely showing that age is not catching up with him just yet. He's still got plenty left in the tank. And, I don't necessarily think I could see him winning a championship over Christopher Bell, but he's definitely going to be there towards, going into the last couple races of the year. He'll still be in it.
It's funny that you say that when it comes to the championship, because I think every year that you've been on this show, I think every year we've done this program as well, everything about Denny Hamlin, nothing he does will matter until he finally breaks through and wins the championship. Because right now he is on that mark. He's about to take the podium from Mark Martin as the best driver to never win a championship. And that is a dubious honor you do not want. But it just seems like everything falls apart in that final race.
I feel like if you take I feel like Denny might have already won that honor that he doesn't necessarily probably want to win. But, I think Denny, as far as, your career in racing, I think he is probably going to go down as one of the most successful drivers, just when you look at an entire career, because if you think about it, he's 40 something years old, but his NASCAR career is half over, if that, because he's got 2311 and he's going to have this whole other career and this whole other metric that we measure him by as team owner as well as driver. So, I see Denny Hamlin winning a championship at his career, whether it is him as a driver or him as a team owner. I think Tyler Reddick definitely. I think Bubba's good, and I do think Bubba can do it. But Tyler Reddick is just, he's on par with Christopher Bell. If Reddick and Christopher Bell had similar cars, I think they have very similar results.
Well, Tyler Reddick was supposed to be the guy to bring RCR back to prominence, but we saw what happened over there, and there was probably some stuff behind the scenes that we don't know about, probably having to do with a certain tweet that keeps getting brought up from time to time, given what we know about the ownership. But I could see Reddick winning that championship this year. I'm pretty sure Denny Hamlin would like to win it himself.
Yeah,
but he's got a good team over there. He's got Bubba that's finally got it together, although Sunday did not go the way they wanted to. They got caught out by a caution. Reddick was pretty much up front for all the day. And while Riley Herbst finished, that's the best thing to say about him. Still too early to ring the alarm bells on him. This Cup car is very difficult to drive. And as we say all of that, go ahead.
I got a theoretical for you.
Okay.
So let's say it's Tyler Reddick and Denny are in the championship 4, and pick whoever the other two. It does not matter.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think Tyler Reddick wins the race, Denny Hamlin finishes second? Do you think Denny's first thought is, "Man, I should have won that," or do you think his first thought is, "Holy shit, I just won a championship"?
It's gonna be, "Man, I should have won that."
You think?
Because I think he's going to be happy to win the Owners' Championship, but he wants that driver's title. I think he wants that more than anything before he starts getting the Owners' Championship.
I feel like, especially, I feel like as a dad, because I think he's a really good dad to his kids from everything that we know.
Yes. I
think that dad mentality kicks in first, where he just says, you know what, that kid won that race. That kid won a championship. And I think that he is elated before he's disappointed. Mm-hmm. I think the disappointment comes later. But I think he's too hyped up, from his team winning and Tyler or Bubba, whoever. But it'd be interesting. I would be curious to know, that answer from his mouth.
Yeah. I think he's still driving, so I think he's still focused on the Drivers' Championship. I think he will still be happy, though, to see 2311 get his first championship this year. I know Michael Jordan would be happy. He was at Darlington this week, and a lot of folks are really surprised that Michael is around the cars as much as he is. The man's from North Carolina, y'all. He went to Darlington as a kid to watch races. This is not a fad. He is a true blue NASCAR fan.
And if you're a billionaire, what the hell else do you got to do?
Exactly. What else is he going to do all day? He sold his stake in the Hornets, so he's got nothing else to do. Might as well go around my race cars.
Might as well go do something enjoyable and fun. And especially if you can throw it back to something like when you were a kid.
Yeah.
Just the nostalgia factor alone.
Yeah, I think it's always funny. He goes to Daytona and he has that compound on the backstretch that he sets up for him and the VIPs for 2311. It's always great. Bubba took the trophy from the dual win over there, which I thought was cool.
Yeah.
So we're heading over to Bristol this weekend. And the one hope is, what is the temperature going to be? The second hope is we have a tire that wears, but not as bad as last year. Because I think I'm at this point in the minority on this, and I'm fine with that. But last year's tire wear was over the line into dangerous. We saw that on that last run where all but 2 cars were running at speed at the end of that one before everybody had to go pit under green, which is a weird sentence for Bristol. But if they do bring a tire that brings sufficient wear to the concrete, it's going to be a fun race. Bristol always tends to deliver a great short track race, despite what social media might say. We're in for another good one, and always with Bristol, we have short tempers, and we got the Xfinity Series coming there on Saturday. Half them boys don't like each other. So, Chris, my question to you is, how many people are going to be fighting at the end of that Xfinity race?
Hopefully all of them. just a whole brawl down in pit lane. Just pit crew, everybody.
I think we are going to be in for one of those. It's an Xfinity Series where everybody's just mad at each other, and I think that makes the Xfinity Series the most entertaining. I don't know if NASCAR usually has like one group of drivers that is like mad at each other. Like right now, it's Ross Chastain and Joey Logano that don't like each other, and Carson Hocevar and most of the veterans that don't like each other. In Xfinity, you need a flow chart of folks that have beef with each other.
When I think of rivalries in the Cup Series over the past 5 years or so, the one common denominator is Joey Logano's almost always involved.
Yes.
I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing. Like they hate us because they ain't us type of deal or what, but Joey seems to be in all of it.
Joey likes to ruffle feathers and usually ends up on the winning end of all of those. He actually got into it, I think, with Chase Elliott here during the COVID year. We saw this one was in the summer though. We saw Kevin Harvick and Chase Elliott also get into it. Some common denominators there. And remember, that was that race where Chase helped his teammate win because he slowed up Harvick, and Harvick was pissed after that.
Let's let Larson get by and win.
Yep. And then as far as this race is concerned, the spring race, I think the famous one, this was where the Jimmy Spencer and Kurt Busch rivalry started, which ended with Kurt Busch getting punched at Michigan. And then Jeff Gordon and Matt Kenseth started their season-long rivalry here where Kenseth spun Gordon, and then Gordon got out the car, shoved Kenseth after the race. Then Gordon got Kenseth back at Chicagoland that year, turned him around. So Bristol is usually the starting point of some season-long rivalries that are always fun. Hopefully we'll get some more this weekend as we get ready to get into the spring of things, heading into the summertime portion of the season. And to check the weather for Bristol, Tennessee, because they've had some bad rain there in the south this week. Going into Sunday, supposed to be dry. However, some of the wet stuff may follow us all day Friday and Saturday. Friday is looking like it may be a washout. Saturday, going to be some lingering showers during the day, but Sunday should be about 64 degrees. Decent temperature, should be okay for the tires. We'll cross our fingers on that, but we're going to take a break. When we come back, Fred Boheim of the Racelets podcast is going to join us to talk IndyCar, the Long Beach Grand Prix coming up this weekend. We will have him on the other side of this break here on the Extra Mile iSports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
What's happening, sports fans? Are you a fan of Southern California sports? Are you looking for a show hotter than a hot summer day in California? Then look no further than the SoCal Supreme Sports Show, where I talk about all things Southern California sports. That's right, all sports teams from Southern California. From the hard-hitting tackles of the NFL, to the killer crossovers and big three-pointers of the NBA and WNBA, to the grand slams of the MLB, to the bone-chilling goals of the NHL, and to the booming kicks of the MLS. The SoCal Supreme Sports Show has it all for you. Oh, and let us not forget about the college sports as well. So join me, Taryn Rodriguez, every week here on iSports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
Hey there, IE Sports Radio fans. Be sure to check out our sponsor, Seal the Deal Wax Seals by Cecilia B. You just finished your very own wedding or baby shower invitations and you're looking for that extra special touch? Maybe you just wrote a letter to a relative or a friend and you want to add to their smile when they receive it. Then seal the deal with Cecilia's handmade sealing wax stamps for your invitations, letters, and gifts. You bring the deal, we'll bring the seal. You can find them on Instagram at sealthedeal_wax stamps and on Facebook, Seal the Deal Wax Seals.
Probably one of my favorite ads here that beat there at the end.
Yeah, oh, I know, right? That ad gives me so pumped.
Thank you so much to Seal the Deal Wax Seals for sponsoring IE Sports Radio with the coolest ad theme we probably have here. But hey, we're back here in the Extra Mile on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. And admittedly, IndyCar might be a blind spot for us. We don't get to watch all of the races just with all of the to-do and all the multiple stuff going on. With modern racing, I swear, you need like 5, 6, 7 screens to catch everything. But that's why we decided to reach out to somebody that knows a little bit to help us talk about this upcoming race, the Long Beach Grand Prix. Fred Boehm of Racelets Podcast is joining us tonight to help us talk about IndyCar this weekend. Fred, thank you so much for joining us this weekend or today.
Gentlemen, thank you for having me on. Darryl, you reached out to me a couple of weeks ago and brought this idea up to the plate. And let's go ahead and let's talk some IndyCar.
All right, let's get into it. First, obviously, IE Sports Radio. This is the place by the fans for the fans. So our first question to you, when did your IndyCar fandom first start?
I will be celebrating my 30-year anniversary here this weekend at Long Beach.
Oh, wow.
I live here, Southern California. I was born and raised. Funny story, my aunt was a distributor for Cool cigarettes at the time. And she would always get, the perks of being a distributor. You go to games and such, but they happen to be the sponsor of the Team Cool Green Car, which is Paul Tracy and Dario Franchitti.
Mm-hmm.
So 15-year-old kid going down to Long Beach, and you're walking down and you're hearing the roars of the engines going, and then you start smelling the fuel and the tires and the brakes. And then you walk into the arena, which is, the Long Beach Grand Prix, one of the biggest races in all of IndyCar, other than the 500. And I just fell in love with it. Absolutely fell in love with it. The atmosphere, the adrenaline rush, everything that comes along with IndyCar. And then from that point on, I became a huge fan of the sport. Real quick, how we got the name Racelets for the Racelets IndyCar podcast. I am a father of 4 daughters who are some Swifties. Last year, my daughter Sydney, who does the podcast with me, decided, "Hey, Dad, let's make some bracelets for all the drivers." So what we did is we took the little beads and made bracelets for every driver in their team liveries, and we passed them out to each driver at the race. We decided to make some more and more throughout the season. As the season went on, with all the different liveries, and people were able to purchase them or contact us if they wanted to purchase. So it was a pretty cool little concept. Then we started talking, you know what? Let's get into this podcast stuff. She is 15 years old, and she is absolutely in love and enthralled with the sport. I mean, we watched 100 Days to Idney like crazy. My kids could recite it word for word the amount of times that they've watched that. I'd rather them come home from school, do their homework, and pop that on than some other garbage that's on TV.
Yeah, I hear that.
So
it's you and your daughter doing a podcast on IndyCar. That's awesome. That really is.
Yeah, you know what? The female community in the sport is ginormous. More than I've seen in any other professional sport. The amount of women that are enthusiasts and that are involved with IndyCar and the different teams has really sparked that passion that women can do just what men can do in terms of this. We have women drivers. Let's have women on the crew teams, and they're changing tires on pit stops. And at 15 years old, and you have a passion and a desire, and you know what you want to do, I am so impressed by her. She's got a great future ahead of her, and we're looking forward to having a great weekend this weekend at Long Beach. Got a lot of fun stuff planned.
You will find no bigger. Well, you would be a bigger advocate because you have a daughter. Well, 4 of them, but we are definitely big advocates for women in motorsports on this show here. For me personally, you will find no bigger stand for Hannah Schmitz than me, who's the Red Bull strategist.
Absolutely.
She has won us more races than you could imagine. So
I was going to say, I wonder why he's a Hannah Schmitz fan. I'm sure it has nothing to do with what he has on over there.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
So we're definitely big Hannah Schmitz fans over here. She actually does podcasts now. Not that we could ever land her, but yeah. So we're big time advocates for women in motorsports here too, and like the Iron Dames. We definitely follow them as well. But
there's a few others out there that are doing IndyCar as well. And what's going to be fun about this weekend is a lot of these women from across the country, we're all going to gather up, and what they do is they have a meetup, and they're going to exchange bracelets with one another, and it's a really cool thing. A couple of them were at the thermal race a few weekends ago, so we were able to meet them for the first time and finally put a face and meet who you see on social media. And it was almost like family. My daughter felt so comfortable. She talks to these women all the time, and to finally meet them was pretty special.
That's awesome.
That had to be a great moment. I did meet the Iron Dames during the Rolex 24 weekend, and there's just so many young girls that were around them as well. It's so nice, and unfortunately, they didn't have a good weekend at Daytona because the Iron Dames are not allowed to have good luck. That's the only way I can put it. But I want to get to a point, I think all 3 of us do, where teams like the Iron Dames aren't so abnormal. And I think we're slowly but surely getting there. There's a couple of motorsports we have to drag kicking and screaming. We'll talk about one of them at 8:45. But I think definitely NHRA has got a lot of women racers through their ranks. NASCAR's had a few, although they haven't been able to have the staying power. IndyCar once had 3 running at once.
Danica winning a race.
Yeah. Danica did win a race. I will be nice with what Danica done recently. We will be nice and say that, yes, she did, in fact, win a IndyCar race. Almost win a 500, though. She almost did that on merit. I will say that.
Almost. And let's say Catherine Legge almost finished a few laps this last year, too. So congratulations to her.
Yeah, Catherine Legge still getting it done. Unfortunately, had some trouble at NASCAR, but she's a lot better than what the NASCAR folks think of her, and that's where I'm going to leave that. So let's go to happier territory. We're going to Long Beach this weekend, but the season so far, it's been the Alex Palou show. How do you slow him down at this point? Because he had no business winning at Thermal. McLaren had that race going away, and then Alex Palou just does multiple-time championship things there to win that race.
He does what he does. It's truly incredible. Pato O'Ward led 51 laps during that race last week or a couple weekends ago, and he had a considerable lead over his running mate in Christian Lundgaard. They had a 1-2 for the majority of that race, and we thought, you know what? Christian's going to give him that cushion. He's going to try to hold off Alex as long as he can. Unfortunately, with 15 laps to go, it was a whole brand new story. Tire degradation played a huge factor for the Aero cars, and they just didn't get the strategy right. And I don't know what it is, but Alex and Chip Ganassi's crew are doing whatever it takes to get that podium and to start the season with back-to-back wins. Pretty incredible.
That's a great spot for him to be in, back-to-back wins, stranglehold on the championship. But Chris, McLaren having trouble with strategy. Where have we heard that one before?
I tell you what, anything Zach Brown's got his hands on is trouble.
Hey, the United Auto Sports, though, and IMSA, they're doing pretty good. But going into this weekend, Alex Palou has a 39-point lead over Pato O'Ward, which is not insurmountable. We're going into race number 3, but that's a pretty healthy margin coming into a track like Long Beach, where it is the definition of a street course. Concrete canyon's going to be tough to pass. And qualifying on Saturday is going to matter a lot. So, Fred, we're going into this weekend. How does the rest of the field slow this guy down?
You touched on it, qualifying. We saw 2 years ago at the Grand Prix that Kyle Kirkwood locked up P1, and he went on to win that race over Joseph Newgarden. So winning pole is extremely important, unless you're like a Felix Rosenquist who qualifies great, wins poles, but has terrible endings to his races. As far as Alex goes, he's raced there 5 times, never finished less than 5th. So if he's finishing up there, if he could get a podium position and bumper his point total 3 races into the season, these guys are going to be even more frustrated than what they really are. I'm looking for Penske to do something. They've kind of been disappointing to me this season so far, with Will crashing out at St. Pete, and then Scotty Mack's incident at Thermal Club. They finished in 27th spot back-to-back races. Not a good start.
They had a issue with the hybrid there. Let's expand more on that Penske situation. Their highest car in points right now is Joseph Newgarden, 7th. That is not something you say about a Team Penske in IndyCar.
No, it really isn't. I mean, 7th is I would say pretty high up there right now. I mean, they could have been a lot lower. Will Power, biggest mover of the race in Thermal, moved up, I think, 16 spots from his starting position. If he doesn't do that, then he's further down in the point total as well. And you got 2 guys, looking to move their way up the ladder. For Joseph, this has been a very good track for him. He's won here before. He won it the year that Alex won the championship at Long Beach, the COVID year, the year we had a double race in Long Beach. And I think they've really got to win this race this weekend or finish at least 2 of the drivers from Penske on podium.
I tell you what, we talk about, Newgarden being 7th in points. No one is going to remember this conversation when Joseph Newgarden is, for the 3rd consecutive time, drinking a disgusting glass of milk. This conversation won't even be relevant then.
Yeah, my wife is definitely not a fan of his.
Oh, really?
No, it's surprising. I'm a fan of Joseph's. Why not? We're big Pato Award fans in this family.
I can see that back there.
Yeah, like my Woody Page little prop I brought to the show here today. I like to see Will Power do something. Scotty Mack was my pick to win the championship going into this season.
Mine too.
I'm still going to hold him to it.
Yep.
It has to start this weekend for sure. He's got to win.
Yeah.
He's got to finish top 3. Alex has got to finish 15 or worse, maybe a DNF. We might get lucky. I doubt that.
Well, there's a lot of drivers that have to get on that train if they want to win the championship. I mean, Colton Herta is sitting back there in the 8th spot, and there's a lot going on with him about whether or not he's going to go to Cadillac. Felix Rosenquist, though, has been a bright spot up there. A couple of top 10s start the year. He's in 5th. A 3rd one, you might have to put him in that conversation as a dark horse championship contender, I think.
Yeah, those Meyer Shank cars have done an outstanding job so far this season with Felix and Marcus Armstrong, both qualifying well and have had good finishes. They were one of my dark horses coming into the season, along with AJ Foyt. I thought they would be doing a lot better at this point. We'll see as this weekend goes. I think David Malukas can have a good race. I see a top 7 or 8 for him this weekend. As far as Colton Herta goes, he was also penalized and deducted 10 points, I think, after the Thermal race. Is that correct?
Yeah, he had a rules infraction. after that, which is always tough.
Mm-hmm.
But speaking of thermal, we've talked about it a couple of times now, so I think we can just go ahead and rip the Band-Aid off this one. A lot of conversations in IndyCar fandom on social media about the point of this race. It was a non-points race 2 years ago. This year was a full points race. Was a little bit better of a race this year than last year, although we did have the weird power outage that took the race off air for an hour. So a lot of IndyCar fans got some unsolicited NASCAR coverage to watch a couple of weeks ago.
Mm-hmm.
It brings up the question, and I'll wrap off with this and ask it simply. Is this a race that is going to continue into the near future? And if it does, what can IndyCar do to make their fans care about it? Because it seems like right now a lot of fans are out on thermal.
Biggest thing, drop the prices.
Mm-hmm.
You're at a country club for car owners, so the prices are going to be very high. $1,500 for a VIP weekend.
Jeez.
Per ticket. If you wanted general admission, they were $500 for the weekend. If I wanted to take my family to the race, I'm looking to drop $3,000, which I'm not going to be spending on a race at 90-degree heat in the middle of the desert.
No.
It wasn't a very exciting race. There wasn't much vantage points to watch it from as well. You have one grandstand on the other side of the track, another one on another side of the track, where if you weren't a VIP member, you can't even access that grandstand. My daughter and I were lucky. We watched it down at the Aero Pato Awards pit box. So we watched it the entire race right there on their screens. Had a little bit of shade down there as well. I don't know. I don't see it coming back. They've already replaced it with Arlington starting next year at this time of the year. If they do it, maybe do like an all-star race again, but don't make it a points race. I just don't think it's a very good moneymaker for Indy.
Yeah, I think just stay with Arlington. I wish we could go back to Texas Motor Speedway, but the PJ1 there has just ruined the oval. And with also the reprofiling that they shouldn't have done to try to make the NASCAR race better. When there wasn't a Texas Motor, we're getting off topic, but I have to talk about this, especially as I have an IndyCar expert here. Texas Motor Speedway was fine for both series. There was no reason to touch that track, and now it's good for neither. And I don't know how we fix it other than just make it a Walmart and cut our losses.
I saw a rumor. I don't know if it was an April Fool's joke or not, but they said maybe bringing it back in 2028. I don't know if that's even an option. I doubt that.
Unless they're repaving at the same time. I don't see it happening because you've got to get that PJ1 up off the racetrack. Whether you grind it down or just relay the surface, you got to get the PJ1 off there.
Larry, I'm sorry, but they need to give Texas the Auto Club treatment.
That's the place we want to give the Auto Club treatment.
I know Larry's still like so burned about that, and I'm sorry. Yeah. There. Yeah.
Are you talking about Fontana?
We're talking about Fontana and what's going on with it, and the sounds of that place being a racetrack is all but dead.
All right, Larry, you can join anytime, Larry. You're the admin. So.
Yeah. But yeah, unfortunately, Fontana's all but dead, and that is a racetrack near you guys that put on not just good NASCAR racing, great IndyCar racing. There was a couple of races there. The last one that IndyCar did, if it wasn't on the same weekend as Sonoma for Cup, all-timer with the passes and pack racing.
Yeah.
It's a track that we all miss.
The unfortunate incident, the Greg Moore.
Yeah, I remember that
crash
one.
There. But no, it was fun. That was the only track. We had two tracks in Southern California that we can go and watch an IndyCar race within a 60, 70 mile radius was pretty cool.
And I believe that same weekend, this gets overshadowed because of what happened with Greg Moore. I believe it was Jill DeFerrin that set the closed course speed record at that track on the Saturday during qualifying.
You could be right, but I don't know for sure.
You can find that lap on YouTube. Absolutely cojones of steel to run that lap. But one last thing before we let you get out of here. Connor Daly's got a great partnership this weekend, where he is tired of the pricks, and he's got WWE Hall of Famer Mick Foley on the car this weekend as well.
That was my Photoshop on there.
Oh, okay. Oh, I was bad.
I'm like, if you're going to say Mankind, you got to put Mankind on the car.
Yep.
No, but I love that livery he's got going on, the magenta and the teal. Brings some memories back from a few years ago when he was driving those same colors. So I'd love to see Connor do well, and we all hate those pricks. So great cause. If you can donate, or I think they're selling their merchandise on their website as well. That is for childhood diabetes awareness. Good stuff right there. So Connor's always doing stuff for the community. Juncos has made a great effort this year already. With the two drivers they got with Stingray and Connor, they've got Stingray focusing on the animals, and now the childhood diabetes right here. Good stuff.
All right, Fred, where can everybody hear the podcast?
You can hear the podcast on YouTube, Racelets, IndyCar Podcast. We also have it on Spotify. Again, we're just starting this whole journey of doing this. Got an Amazon podcast kit. We've got bare bones, but we're having a lot of fun doing it. And again, it's just me and my daughter. We're going to try to get some interviews down at Long Beach this weekend. Is there anything that you guys are looking forward to?
I'm always looking forward to the Long Beach Grand Prix. We also have IMSA on this weekend. I miss the celebrity race that they used to do. I hope we can get that back. But IndyCars going around the fountain, always that first lap with the new configuration going around the fountain is always so cool to me. And I'm hoping that we get a good obviously hoping we get an exciting race and somebody slow down Alex Palou. We don't want him to see him win all the races now.
Right. Yeah. This is the 50th anniversary as well, so there's going to be a lot of former winners in town. This is a big party. This is means a lot to the city of Long Beach, Southern California, IndyCar. I'm looking to see if I can run into a few old racers there that I loved in my childhood. And yes, who's going to beat Alex Palou? If I had to guess, going to be this guy right here behind me.
We'll be pulling for Pato as well, and pulling for Pato in May as well. He is due to pick
100%. 100%. If you're not a fan of his, tune into the race, and you will quickly become a fan of his or follow him on social media, and everybody else does. He's the face, I think, of IndyCar, and get that 500 win, and then knock Joseph out of the picture.
So Fred Bohm, co-host of the Racelets podcast. Fred, thank you so much. Have a great trip up to the Long Beach Grand Prix, and stop by anytime.
Thank you, guys. I really appreciate this. It's an honor. Thank you so much.
Of course. Have a great one.
Have a great night.
You too. So I want to thank Fred again for joining us. We'll try to have him back on a couple of times, and make sure to check out the Racelets podcast as well. We're going to take our final break of the evening. When we come back on the other side of this break, we're going to get into the Japanese Grand Prix, and we're going to have a frank discussion about the Formula One quality of racing, because it ain't looking too hot this year, ladies and gents. We'll talk about that on the other side of this break here on the Extra Mile on iSports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
What's going on, Kansas City sports fans? I am the greatest of all time. The best in the world, but more importantly, the owner of the world, Braid of the franchise buck, and I am your host for the show. This is KC Sports, which you can find right here every Monday at 2 p.m. Central Standard Time on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. Now, are you looking for a show that you can watch live or listen to later on that talks about the Kansas City Chiefs, the Kansas City Royals, Sporting KC, KC Current, as well as even the Kansas City Mavericks? Or do you want to listen to a show that talks about your high school sports, whether it be on the Missouri side or the Kansas City side? Let's even talk about college. Let's talk about KU. Let's talk about K-State. Let's talk about Mizzou. And let's talk about your boys' alma mater, the Pittsburgh State Gorillas. All in all, it doesn't matter. If it's Kansas City anything, we will talk about it on this show every Monday at 2 p.m. We'll talk about stuff that's happening in your area, let alone Union Station, Power and Light, T-Mobile Center. It doesn't matter. If you want to talk about it, join our segment, the Fan Interaction segment, every Monday at 2 p.m. and make sure you get your voice heard. Until then, I hope you check out the show. As always, I am the greatest of all time, the best in the world, but more importantly, the owner of the world, Brandon the Franchise Buck, and I am your host every Monday at 2 p.m. on This is KC Sports, which you can find right here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
Rise and shine. It's 4 a.m. The stars are still out. The sun is beneath the horizon, but it's time to punch in and go to work. The comfort of your warm-ups turns into the grinding out of your reps as the clinking and the clanking of the plates create a symphony of euphoria. There's no other feeling like it. Earn it, burn it, and take what's yours. IE Sports Radio has proudly partnered with Vital Apparel, a brand that not only fits great, but also promotes and donates to mental health research. Use our code IESR to get 15% off their comfortable and inspiring gym wear and help them on their amazing journey to support mental health. Go hard, take part in your iron therapy, and be strong. Because when your mental health is as strong as you are, there's no telling how far you'll go.
And we're back here in the Extra Mile on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. Darryl and Chris here with you this evening. And hey, if you are going to be listening to the Georgia Sports Central later on this, actually that show comes on Wednesdays at 7 p.m. You may hear a little bit of golf coverage this weekend because we are getting ready for the Masters this weekend, the Daytona 500, Indy 500, Grand Prix of Monaco, however you want to say it, of golf coming up this weekend. And this is a tournament made famous by golf's greatest. We know Tiger Woods' exploits there. Scotty Scheffler, the favorite this weekend. But, Chris, you've got an interesting take on who's going to have a chance at taking the win here this weekend.
He's virtually guaranteed not to win, but Rory McIlroy is definitely going to pull a William Byron at Darlington this past week, to put it into motorsports terms. He is going to dominate the opening 3 days, and then when it counts, he will absolutely crap the bed, because that is the Rory McIlroy way.
Oh, we love Rory so much. Practice is going on right now. We're going on all this week. Of course, the tournament officially gets started with round one on Thursday. Unfortunately, no Tiger Woods this weekend, as he is dealing with the injuries that usually go with golfers at the end of their career, which is your back. And any golfer will tell you, once that back starts to go, you ain't getting it back. It's like basketball players with their knees.
Yep, you're done.
You start losing those, you're done.
Yep, absolutely. But yeah, I'm pumped.
Yeah, I don't think we really have a NASCAR. I don't think we have a motorsports injury where if you start having that, it's pretty much over. You hope you don't get injured for one, but
yeah.
Usually,
I would say it's concussions probably.
Yeah, I think that's something we don't talk about a lot in motorsports with everything
football.
with the NFL.
Yeah,
and everything with them and the concussions. We do not talk about concussions in motorsports.
Really, the only time I can really think of it is when Kurt Busch and Alex Bowman were both out in the playoffs in Kurt Busch's last year. That's really like the first time I've really heard of people being out for a concussion, and consequently the last time I heard somebody out for a concussion too.
Yeah, it's weird.
And you can't tell me these guys don't get concussed.
Oh no, it's happened a lot more than I will tell you this. It definitely happens a lot more than reported. We see how hard they hit.
If Larry's still here, he's having like PTSD over the C word.
Yeah. Look, every time the NFL Rules Committee goes to sleep, all they see is $900 million concussion settlement. I'm telling you.
CTE.
Yeah. But there's no way to segue to that, so we're just going to go ahead into the Formula One Japanese Grand Prix, which had exactly one exciting moment, which was the guy in the best car getting beat by the best driver in probably the fifth best car off pit lane, and Max Verstappen taking the win from pillar to post in a race that has started some conversations, Chris, about Formula One, how the cars are shaped, and whether or not we're just becoming a time trial series at this point, because the first 4 races of the year, including the China sprint race, all 4 leaders or all 4 winners started on the pole and led every lap.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't even know how to do a rebuttal to that. My only caveat would be that I actually saw a statistic about 15 to 20 minutes before we came on, so I wasn't really able to verify this, but somebody said that Max Verstappen has a 80% win rate from pole.
Sounds about right.
And then the next nearest is like 60-something%.
The man's good.
So for that, I would, and really, you know what, Darryl, I do want to say that Max Verstappen would not have won this race if McLaren was not just, and I hate to say this, but they are pieces of shit. Oscar Piastri was faster, and they will not let Piastri ahead of Lando. He has to out-qualify him to be let ahead, and that's not even letting him ahead. That's him forcing his way through.
I feel like they've learned the wrong lessons from last year when they lost the championship because they played the papaya rules way too long into the season. If you're going to do the team orders thing, you've got to deal based on the guy that's got the hot hand that weekend. The last 2 weekends,
3 weeks
Oscar's
in.
had that hot weekend. Yeah.
We're 3 weeks into the series. You cannot do, you can't be playing favorites 3 weeks in.
No.
Not out of 24 races. Nope. I put this in the notes, and I fully believe this. McLaren's unwillingness to let Piastri race will give Max Verstappen a 5th consecutive title.
I think at this point, McLaren, I agree. I think McLaren's going to beat themselves.
Yep.
And
Lando just is not it. And I know that Michael will be upset to hear that, but Lando is just not, he's not a killer. He is not a killer behind the wheel. And you have to be to win a championship.
It's a struggle watching McLaren have the best car and then have them not do anything with it. Because if this was any other team, if this was Lewis Hamilton in that McLaren right now, this championship would be over.
Yeah.
We would be talking about Lewis Hamilton winning an 8th title right now because he would have blitzed the field going away.
Yeah.
We saw it in 2020. Yes, that was the COVID season, but they came out with that Mercedes, which is one of the greatest Formula One cars of all time, and he absolutely dominated.
Yeah, you had that quote from Max after the race. If I'd been in the other car talking about the McLaren, then you wouldn't have seen me.
No.
And I believe him because he had that car in 2021 or 2023, and you did not see him. That was when he was winning races by minutes, not seconds.
Yeah, like the second place car was finishing business days behind him at that point.
Yeah.
And yet you've got Lando sitting here with all the promise, all the praise. He's got the best car, and
his team holding back his teammate.
Yeah. He's got all the advantages and still not able to get it done. I don't understand it.
Yeah. It's just a hard truth.
Yeah, and this is going to become a weekly part of the show until they prove it. Prove it to us that Lando Norris has what it takes to win a championship. Because right now, I'm not seeing it.
No. Like I said, I think that McLaren will give Max the championship because of their unwillingness to let Piastri race Lando. Because this past weekend, you had Lando in second, unable to even get close to Verstappen when Lando's car is so much better.
Mm-hmm.
And there was nothing he could do about it, whereas Piastri was faster, but he couldn't get into the clean air to get away. I think he would have driven right away from Norris, and I think that he probably would have gotten Max if he had been allowed to do so.
Yeah. And here's the thing: if we go to Bahrain soon, I think we're off right now. Actually, no, we're on this weekend going to Bahrain. If Oscar Piastri is faster than Lando and they don't let him through this weekend at Bahrain, I think you will see his main handler, Mark Webber, who's been through this before, ironically, with your team and Sebastian Vettel, he's going to throw holy hell because Oscar should be fighting for a championship right now, not playing second fiddle the way he's run these first couple of races.
And here's the thing is you have, and we don't even need to get into Helmut Marko.
No.
But after the race, he's straight up talking shit about McLaren and the papaya rules. They are stirring the pot, which is what they should be doing, right? The only way they win this is by throwing McLaren off.
Yes.
And really, the best way to do that is drum up that Hamilton-Rosberg level rivalry, because that's what it will turn into. If they keep telling Piastri, you're not allowed to go by, Piastri will take it into his own hands, and you will have a rogue driver. Because at the end of the day, Piastri knows he's faster, and he is not going to lose the championship knowing he's faster than his teammate.
You only get a couple of chances in your Formula One life to win a championship or be in the position. I don't think Oscar's going to let it go. He knows, everybody knows that McLaren car is fastest.
And next year's a reset.
Yeah. We set everything back to zero next year.
You do not know what you got next year. So this will be a fight to the death between, I believe, three cars.
Yeah.
The two McLarens and Max. I would like to see a red car join that fight.
I think they're too far behind right now.
They just got some shit to work out, but I think this is probably a 3-horse race, realistically.
I think Ferrari, there seems to be some issues in the rear end of the car, at least for Hamilton. Charles is a little bit better, but he's not up there. He is a distant fourth. Looking at the results, he finished 16 seconds behind the leader on Saturday night, Sunday morning, and the leading car was not that great.
No.
So Ferrari, I think, are putting their eggs in the 2026 basket. However, they at least have to show some sort of competence, which I think they can. It's just they're slow. I don't even think they're slow. They have some strategy stuff they got to work out again.
So, I just remember in Spain, we got the flexi wing. So McLaren's time could be even limited further to just Spain. Spain could be a reset for the field too.
Well, that's if the flexi wing is even that big of a deal, because we don't know that either.
It probably is.
I don't know. It doesn't seem to be. Lando is, like we said, we're sitting here talking about Lando only being 1 point up. Lando Norris could not be leading the championship at the end of the Bahrain Grand Prix.
He's lucky he is.
Yeah.
He genuinely looked back at China. He went right off the track. He is lucky he got back on the track and was able to keep going. The same didn't happen for Oscar. Lando's lucky. And realistically, Piastri should have drove right by his ass and Max would be leading the championship.
Yeah. Well, Max would have a problem because he'd have a really hungry Australian behind him in the name of Oscar Piastri.
I would rather lose the championship to Oscar than to Lando.
Yeah.
Just because Oscar's one hungry little effer.
Yeah, Oscar, I think, is better. I really think he is. I think it's going to show this weekend in Bahrain.
Yep, absolutely.
I think 2001. That makes me feel old.
I think Webber will say, "Don't listen to them anymore. You're racing for you."
He's got.
What's his? He can't be behind too much, but he's definitely probably a good. Well, after China, I'm sure he's quite a bit behind.
I can bring up this points right now. He's got 48 or 49.
And Max and Lando have like 61 and
62 and 61. He's still close. It's early.
Yeah.
Yeah, Oscar has 49. Lando has 62. It's early.
So he's 13 points back, yeah.
Yeah, that's...
You can make that up in a weekend.
Yeah, like it's not an eternity. So
Nope.
One good race this weekend, Lando slips up. It's a completely different ball game.
Yeah.
It really is. The other change this week, or the big change this weekend, and we'll get into the 4 wins, 4 poles, what gives a little bit later. Yuki Tsunoda made his debut in the Red Bull, finished 12th. We knew that was probably going to be the case because we know Max is the only one that can drive that Red Bull right now. But I would say the performance was better over the weekend compared to Lawson in that car.
Yeah. I mean, I will happily present the where is it? Right here.
Mm-hmm.
Might have a hard time. Oh, I gotta add it in, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. There. Okay. Give me just a second, and I'll
let Chris go through this little chart that he's made here.
Well, it tells you everything you need to know. I mean, look at Tsunoda and Lawson. I kind of put them together so you can do direct comparisons. And for the first 2 races, Tsunoda smokes Lawson. Mm-hmm. Hadjar is smoking Lawson.
And Tsunoda was kind of an outlier, even not used to that car this weekend.
Yeah. And I mean, look at practice. FP1, he's 6th to Max's 5.
Yeah. We throw out free practice too because they had 4 red flags in an hour. There was no time to get
practice was pretty minimal.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean the numbers speak for themselves.
Yeah, it's just he didn't have a great qualifying run on Saturday. He has a great qualifying run. He's probably in the points.
Yeah, and I didn't watch qualifying, but I think I don't know if something goofy happened with qualifying that he didn't. I don't think he made it out to get a second lap, or a third or whatever. Like I think something happened and he didn't make. I almost feel like they had like a red flag or something at the end. But anyways, yeah. So I'll keep this going at least for a while until Tsunoda really proves that the Lawson thing was right. But I mean, just looking at it, I mean, Tsunoda was by Lawson by the end of the first lap. He was already by Lawson, having started 1 position behind him. So, yeah, I think they made the right choice, and they've already said Yuki's there for the rest of the season. So that's what I was saying, Darryl. Like they kept saying about Checo, he's our driver, and they never once said that about Lawson.
No. Something about that Lawson thing just feels forced, to be honest. Now that I think Yuki right now has got a great opportunity to run himself into a job.
Yeah. I think he can and will.
Mm-hmm.
I really do. And I think Yuki being there is a win-win.
Yes.
He either does really good and you can say, hey, you did a great job. We'd like to bring you back. Or he sucks. And at the end of the year, you can say, well, Yuki, you don't have a contract. It's been fun. Not really. See you later. And then you can take your pick between Lawson and Hadjar. And the other one is relegated to V-carb for life.
Yeah. And for Yuki, even if the ride isn't there is a new team coming in 2026 that needs a veteran driver. He does enough.
I've seen Checo linked to that quite a bit.
I've seen that as well. I mean, but you get a driver that ran in 2025. He did well. You might throw him and Checo in the car if you can't get Colton Herta for whatever reason with super license and everything for next year. You go with Yuki and Checo.
Yep.
There's a lot. You bring Colton in to get those free practice 1 runs because that's the one thing he's missing. And then you go from you go from there. So Yuki's got a lot riding on this that can go well, depending on how he runs. So
yeah,
we'll be watching that all year. And like I said, when we started Formula One, 4 winners, 4 pole sitters, all led every lap. We've got and I think this is something we've talked about like every year on this show, but Formula One has got an overtaking problem, and it's getting worse. And I think the main issue is we've got way too much downforce on these cars.
Yeah, I mean the ground effect, but I mean, what else? What do you do though? You know what I mean?
You got to start making the wing. You got to start making the wings less complex.
Yeah, but we're in the ground effects era.
Yeah,
and I don't know if the new car is supposed to really get rid of that.
I think they're getting rid of ground effects, and they're supposed to be making them smaller. But then all of a sudden, they want to bring V10 engines, which is going to make the cars bigger again. Which I don't know how that's going to work. Look, Benji's trying to keep a job, so he's doing stupid stuff. So they're talking out of both sides of their mouth. I don't think they know. I don't think the top brass knows what they want, but
to piss off the Italians, they're throwing spaghetti at the wall and seeing if it sticks.
Oh, jeez, don't say that. We're not gonna have a show next week now because he he's Italian. If you didn't know the joke there, but it's rough, and I've been reading a lot of the comments from Formula One fans. I actually shared with you guys on TikTok a video of folks just lamenting the state of Formula One right now. The smaller cars might help, but I think another thing that is completely underrated is the minute you breathe on a car in Formula One too hard, 5-second penalty. If you take away the 5-second penalties and allow these drivers to be a little bit more aggressive in making passes, maybe you'll see something happen. Because right now, surprisingly, all the cars are similar in speed. You're going to have to make some daredevil moves to get passes done, and nobody wants to do it because they don't want the dreaded 5-second penalty if they turn somebody around.
Yeah. I mean, I understand I don't want to say like the combat rules, but I think you know what I mean when I say that. It's just more for a lack of a better term, really. Like, I get it. But at the same time, you kind of just got to let them go at it a little bit too.
Yes.
I mean, I understand that it's really hard to draw that line. And the minute that you make it subjective is when bias is able to creep in. And even with the rules as black and white as they are now, you still do get a little bit of bias. Mm-hmm. But I think it would be much more blatant, and we'd have, Kansas City Chiefs level of calling things fixed, which we already even deal with right now with things as black and white as they are. So it would make Formula One unwatchable if they relaxed some of the rules and brought in a little bit more of the, I want to say like steward discretion.
Well, I'm not even talking about that far. I'm talking about just opening the rule book and taking some of the stuff out the rule book so it's not a call. Because you're not gonna you can't do what NASCAR's trying to do. Where you're trying to do the gray area, because I'm still trying to figure out why Sammy Smith got a 50-point penalty. Because we've seen Cup drivers do that. Yeah. What happened there at Martinsville a couple weeks ago. I'm still trying to figure out all the belly aching about that.
That was a message. Yeah. That's all. That's just what that was. That was you embarrassed us, so we are going to pay you back type of deal.
Yeah,
and
that's
probably can't convince me otherwise.
Yeah, and we didn't talk about that during the NASCAR segment, but that Mike Helton had like a 5 a.m. all hands meeting with the Xfinity Series on Saturday, right?
Yeah.
Like everybody got called to the principal's office.
Yeah. Right. Didn't they? They said that the drivers had to like leave home at like 4:30, 5 o'clock in the morning to make that meeting.
Yep.
And that was a don't ever give us negative press, that actions detrimental.
And you know who was trying to be the voice of reason in that meeting?
No.
Austin Hill. That was the guy trying to be the veteran voice. And Dale Earnhardt Jr. had a great tweet about it. I have to find it if I can, but
was it, hey, Austin, maybe sit this one out?
Yeah, that is not the guy I want talking about this.
It's that video. You're not that guy, pal.
Yeah.
You're not that guy.
No, we do not want to see Austin Hill trying to play veteran voice of the Xfinity Series.
Or Austin Cindric. Have you seen like some of the like compilations of him this year? Denny Hamlin like straight up called him out.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on with Cindric this year. He's not that great on the score sheet, and then he's getting into trouble, which is never good.
Yeah,
those are never good combinations.
He's just dumping people now, like blatantly dumping people at this point.
Yep,
it's a little wild. He'll get his comeuppance though. Then he'll pay him back.
Yep. So we have a couple of races coming up this weekend. We have not got to talk about supercars a lot this year because they take long breaks, obviously, and they are heading out to Taupo, New Zealand, for their first race in New Zealand of the year with the Taupo Super 440s. I apologize if I'm pronouncing that wrong. This is going to be a triple header weekend on Friday, Saturday, Sunday. And Chris, Will Brown and Cam Waters going to rekindle that rivalry. Brown struck first, but Waters has struck harder in the wins department. So
reverse.
How do you think it's going to shift? Oh, yeah, sorry. Waters struck first, Brown struck harder.
Yeah.
How do you think the winds blow this weekend?
It could be a toss-up. We'll see what these guys have done with their almost month off, which is isn't it kind of wild to think like it's April and we're already we're talking about these guys basically having been off for the last 3 weeks.
Yeah, because they started their season in Sydney with the night race. Then they went to Melbourne for the Australian Grand Prix races, which were incredible. Make sure you go watch those. And then they took
like 3 weeks off.
Yeah.
It's just
an
pulling IndyCar.
Well, it's like IMSA too. You know, they run the Rolex 24, and they take a month off, then they come back and run a 12-hour race. Although that one makes a little bit more sense because WEC starts between there as well. So they give off so people can go do their international commitment and then come back. But IndyCar is like you start the season, it's like, okay, see you in a month. Wait, what?
Yeah. NASCAR could learn a little something from these other series that don't run 38 weekends a year.
Yeah, folks need a break. And
I would like to see NASCAR pull something kind of similar. And like, I know I only use the Coke 600 because it's a long ass race.
Yes.
But not there. But like, take a Martinsville that's like the 500. You know what I mean? Or like 500 lap Martinsville. Break that up into 5 100 lap points paying races. Or do like a Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Do it 4 125s. Do something like that.
I can see that at a Bristol or maybe even, especially with the lack of practice time we have now.
Yeah.
Like give us something. Give us some reason to pay the money to go to the track right now because it's not practice time. There's very little on track running nowadays.
Yeah. And make them points paying. Yeah. Like that would they need to do NASCAR needs to do something to get a little bit of uniqueness. And I think that they could look to their pals in supercars and try to come up with a multi-race weekend format because, you know, I don't think most people here, like in the US, are even aware that a supercars race that's 440 kilometers long is not one shot 440 kilometers. It's usually 100, and then 100. Well, that math isn't right, but a 440 kilometer race is usually spread out over 4 races.
Yeah, this one's going to be spread out over 3 this weekend.
Yeah.
So they'll run on Friday, Saturday, Sunday.
It creates these great sprints.
Yes.
And it gives gravity, to, it forces these guys to act, and, because there are a lot of points on the line on any given race weekend.
Mm-hmm.
And I think NASCAR they should try something similar just one time, see how it goes, see how the fans like it. They'll hate it, but.
Well, the fans are going to be the fans on social media, but what I would do is do what Supercars does. They have a qualifying and then they do the race. So you go on Friday, you'll have a short practice, qualifying, race. Saturday, you have a warm up, qualifying, you race at the end of the day. Sunday, same thing. Short practice. Since we're doing these short practices anyway, 20-minute practice, qualify, then you have the race.
Yep.
You have these 3 sprint races all day, get more on-track action because you got Xfinity and Truck there as well, maybe even ARCA if you want to throw them in. And it's just something that they got to try because we're not getting the long practices back for whatever reason.
Yeah.
And I'm sorry, the value of the weekend ticket for me as a fan just isn't there if we're not going to get the practice time.
Yeah. And these, you think about it, you go watch the race, and sometimes, you go to the NASCAR race, and sometimes trucks in Xfinity aren't there.
Yeah.
And so what? You got a little bit of track time on Saturday and then the race. Basically you've got qualifying in the race. If I'm going to the track, I need more than that. I cannot justify spending hundreds, if not thousands of dollars by the time you travel somewhere, food, all this. Trips are expensive.
It really is. And it's only going to get more expensive.
Darryl, we can talk about that type of stuff when we go off the air, buddy.
I'm just saying.
But yeah, it's expensive. They need to do something to make it fun. And I think Supercars would be a great series to look at and say, is there anything there that we could take and kind of make our own? They already grabbed fastest lap from Formula One, which is about the most inconsequential point there is.
Yeah, I don't think anybody cares for the fastest lap point, man.
Yeah. Even it matters in a sport like Formula One where, points can be so close, but you're not going to get that type of closeness really with NASCAR. And because it's so unpredictable whether you could even get it or not, at least with Formula One, you send Bottas down pit road, on lap 52 out of 53, and you send him out to grab the fastest point from Max, but you don't get that in NASCAR. It's not a sure thing.
No, and nobody's going to go 2 laps down to try to do it. So
no.
I don't know. I would rather them bring the leading lap points back rather than the fastest lap. But that's just my thought. So we're going to get ready to get out of here. We got a lot of great racing this weekend. The NHRA is also back this weekend. Make sure you check that out on NHRA TV and Fox as well. As we're going 4 wide in Las Vegas. IndyCar is in Long Beach. Supercars are in New Zealand. Not WEC. IMSA's with IndyCar in Long Beach. NASCAR is in Bristol. It's going to be a great racing weekend, and we hope you all enjoy it. For Chris and Darryl, this has been the Extra Mile, and of course, we are going to say goodnight in silence for Shigeki Hattori and his family and his team members there at Hattori Racing Enterprises. We'll see you at the next green flag. Good night, everyone.